Alpha, we have what looks like unidentified rovers approaching our position. Possible pirate activity. Alpha, we need backup ASAP. We're being ambushed.
LRV-2 down.
Roy!
I have a puncture.
Roy, you alright?
I'm okay.
Alpha, repeat. We need... Lieutenant! Oh, Lord! Go!
We are not clear. I repeat, we are not clear. We have multiple enemy craft in pursuit.
Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Welcome to my humble little YouTube channel. Thanks for stopping by. So today, before we get into that, I hope you all had a good 4th. I know we've been gone for about 5 days. I actually did try to make a video, but there was a problem with post-production and it didn't go through. But I did put out a video here. It's called The Year of the Challenger. Check it out. It's kind of a compilation. It's called Year of the Challenger of all the various challengers for the year so far. It's like 20 different people. I'll do a part 2 later as we gear up towards the election. But yeah, so I found some interesting gems. Oh shit! Before we get in, hope you all had a good 4th of July. I did. It's pretty good. So today we're not going to cover the next section we got coming up. Is this section here? I'm not giving up on this until this is done. Okay, and kind of coming up with a conclusion here. We'll have a final report on what we think basically the Tic Tac or all these UAPs are specifically, but not till the end. We're going to cover this section next time. This is the next section coming up, which is page 3, paragraph 2 and 3. But specifically this one right here, because we're going to be covering these individual categories: airborne clutter, natural atmospheric phenomena, etc., etc. Today I just briefly wanted to touch on a few things before we go. So without further ado, let's just jump into what I got going on for you. So today I wanted to touch on, first off, as a theoretical explanation for what's going on. Obviously, I got electronic warfare, optical warfare, actually intelligent life forms. Now, we're not done with this, of course. We're just filling it out. We're just filling the report out. So I got a section here, finally. We got to it, psychological operations. And so let's jump into it. Clean that up a little bit there. And clean these rest of them. There, that looks a lot better. Let's see it. Hold on just 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Alright. A. What is the purpose? What is the purpose it's a typo. What is the true purpose behind this report? We know this is controlled release of information, but why? And why now? B. As with any U.S. government operation, there is a variety. I spelled that wrong. Multi-agendas thrown in. 1. Partitioned for more funding, especially for space assets. So obviously, if they're going to go ahead and do whatever this is, right? Hey, why not try to get some extra funding for areas of specific need? I personally believe, and most people would agree with me, but some psychological operations can be used for good. Psychological operation, in my opinion, is just manipulating somebody psychologically into a desired result. But sometimes, in my personal opinion, it could be done for good reasons. So let's not rule that out. But that's a big hot topic because there's a lot of people that are that believe that that space should not be militarized. Back with our old treaties back in the Cold War, and then there's some people that highly believe that space, it's the next fighting domain, and that of course there should be security. I'm on the fence with that. I kind of believe a mixture of both. One thing that we do know for sure, though, is that, and that we have to start understanding, is that space has already been militarized. It's been militarized since the late 50s, and that you can't put that cat back in the bag, and that we are dominant in it. I also do believe that you do need security. Like when it comes to the GPS system, I mean, just imagine the millions of businesses that do require GPS, and it would only take one type of sabotage event. Now there's many ways to affect satellites from the ground. There's lasers, there's jamming. And then there's cyber. Now the GPS satellites they're out there pretty far, and which is what they call geosynchronous orbit, which is the furthest orbit out there. I mean, you have low Earth, you got medium Earth, and you got geosynchronous. So it's hard to get out way as far as it is to get to the low Earth orbit. Your low Earth orbit are your small little CubeSats, the ones you can actually fire from a plane. You can fire a multi-stage mini little rocket, or even ballistic. I guess you could call them a ballistic missile from a jet, and it can get into low Earth orbit. But to get up to the deep orbit, you need a platform. Anyway, or even I think the jets could be like a solid stage. I don't. Well, no. It's a mixture of both. I mean, you can make it. You can make it multi-stage. But anyway, let's keep moving on. Oh, anyway, I was gonna say before we jump, cyber. You could cyber one of those GPS satellites, or just put the whole system out. And then you're causing a lot of economic disruption. C. Why did Senator Rubio request a report into UAPs, or AATs as he puts it, advanced aerial threats? What's his motive behind that? Let's surveil him. Let's watch him. Let's see what kind of information we can pick up through that, legally, of course. D. What's the U.S. government's expected or desired response from the public regarding this report? There's two camps, obviously, pulling into the opposite directions, and they don't like each other because of the control of the narrative. So that's interesting to note. Like I said, I'm kind of on the outsider. I'm just kind of watching. I'm watching all the information and just trying to get an overall sense of what's going on. I monitor all the different channels and all their different perspectives. I think it's fascinating, and actually, I really enjoy people's different points of view. I don't like an echo chamber. I like to hear it from both sides of the spectrum. Like I said, I'm a big, I definitely support peace and space, and of course contact. But I'm on the other side as well, so I'm really kind of in the fence. But we'll get to our final explanation in the end. I'm kind of getting an idea of right now. Evacuate or wait, is it? Why does that say evacuate? evaluate. It's supposed to be evaluate. Spell check. Evaluate. Evaluate the behavior of TTSA. They're an interesting group. It seems like it's broken up. I don't know what it was from the start. But let's keep evaluating them, see how they act. What does it tell us, or is it reverse psychology? F. What does China and Russia think of this report? That's our biggest way to get information. Of course, they can control it too from their own people. So but it's something interesting to note. G. Assuming these UAPs are from out of this world, the behavior would indicate non-aggressive. That is true. If you think about it, if they wanted to take us out, they could. When you think about the age of the universe, right, and then that, if it was if you was to equate it to a calendar, 1 year calendar, we've been around for the last day, December 31st of that year, right? And look how fast we progressed, right? Hell, in 30 years, we're on the cusp of AI and interfacing directly into our brains with kind of like electronic telepathy. We're in a serious danger of becoming like there's good and bads of becoming like a hive mind, but one of the bads is you lose your independence, yourself, and you need that. So anyway, but anyway, my point is that if there's a species that happen to survive for like 3 days, think how advanced they would be, right? So we've been around for a day, but what happens if there's a species that's been around for like 3 days or 4 days on that calendar? And I can't even imagine a month. So they'd be pretty advanced technologically, which means, and not just technologically, but as far as, behavior-wise, like they would have mastered a lot of things that us humans like struggle with, right? And we're susceptible to, emotions. That's just plain and simple from our survival instincts, which we had to. But they might have had the wisdom or whatever to master all those things. So if they wanted to eliminate us, they wouldn't have to do it kinetically, like an old school conventional kinetic attack, like the movie Independence Day. Even though that would be badass, I would love to get it on with them. Right? It definitely, we definitely innovate, but they wouldn't have to do that. They could just simply. There's so many easy ways. I'm more afraid of our fellow humans taking us out than these, right? So that's the whole thing with the ancient aliens. If the concept of we've been around for a day, there has to be species that's been around for 3 or 4 days, and maybe they would have designed what in their eyes is an artificial intelligence creature, right? And maybe they just decided to make it carbon-based, water-based, in some kind of water world. I don't know. H. Yeah, so that's something to definitely consider as far as their behavior. We definitely want to consider that. But that's not to rule out, though, that that there's not species that aren't benevolent. So we have to keep. That's real important. I think we really have to understand that. We can't assume, but based on our observable universe, if we'd have been taken out, not in the 1940s, but a long time ago, the Middle Ages, they could have just took us out. H. If we convince the population that we do not know what these things are, then we can claim we have not recovered or are in contact with supreme beings from outer space. So there you go. I. Russia and China or third world countries are going to disclose. Thus, U.S. needs to beat them to it to control the flow and narrative. J. U.S. wants out of the petrodollar system and has decided to control the release of advanced technology, i.e. energy tech. Government has bad track record with false flags and psyops. So there you go. That's the biggest thing, is that there's a control and a hegemony of the world's financial system based on the world's currency and the energy, which the U.S. is, for the most part, controls or tries to control, or there is that type of warfare between the Western allies and the rest of the world and stuff like that. So if there was like, let's say somebody did invent like free energy, of course it's going to be confiscated by the U.S. government. They're not going to let that release. I mean, look at the massive the massive shockwaves it would have throughout the economy, right? But that's how they maintain control over a population. I mean, like free energy would break up the release of a lot of things. Like, would we need? Why would we have to fight one another? If resources are abundant, we don't need to fight one another, and thus we don't need to have standing armies. And if we don't need standing armies, thus we really don't need a government. I mean, that really reduces the need for a government. That's the biggest thing is the government, is the military. And you do need some kind of cooperation between large groups. I get that. I mean, you got to have sewage and, roads and stuff. And K, inoculating the public for the eventual discovery and contact of other intelligent life. Now, that has arguably been kind of going on since the 1940s. So whether it's a psyop or not, if we just sit back and observe our observable universe, that has been going on. We have been getting inoculated. So, now it's not done. If more things come to me, we'll add it on. I figured we keep all this in mind. All right, so moving on. Look, I want to talk about certain things when it comes to contact. In a lot of ways, there's a lot of other groups out there that have been doing this that are not getting consideration within this argument. Let's talk about the WOW signal. So there's a WOW signal. Here's a better picture of it. They picked up this radio signal. That's what it looks like. So I think if we're really interested in contacting discoveries, one thing that we're not considering is, an investigation is all fine and dandy from jets, F-15s, F-22s, F-35, stuff like that, using a FLIR system. That's all fine and dandy, but okay, we can really pick up a lot of traffic. Like if they're tracking, if Navy jets are tracking that here on the surface, and if that's prevalent, right? Imagine what kind of traffic is going on and just in our orbit or our skies. So using radio astronomy or just radio tracking, we could pick up a whole lot of stuff. So what you need to be asking is if you placed a listening device in the space, you'd pick up a lot better chatter or noise as you would on the surface of the surface of Earth, because obviously the radio signals have to go through air, which is the medium. It's got a medium. It's got particles, right, which is going to affect it. But once you get into space, it's a vacuum, and you don't have any of that resistance. You don't have air particles and matter particles, so you can really get a real clear shot, just kind of like the Hubble telescope. Let's get back to this. We proposed a question. Okay, right here. We, the people, demand a response to declassified and put on record. Okay. Intelligent life form. Let's hypothetically say we are visited. What's our exact game-out response? What's our protocol? What's our exact game-out response? Well, I found this little interesting thing. It's called the Declaration of Principles Concerning Activities Following the Detection of Extraterrestrial Intelligence. This is from SETI, which would be like these guys here. So they do have one. Check it out. There's a SETI DOP PDF. Check that out. Okay, they go over their protocol. Of course, you know that the Pentagon's probably going to do something different, but this is a good start because these guys have already thought it out. A lot of this, a lot of the work that we're doing right now. First off, I just want to make it clear, I'm not no great researcher, none. I mean, this is I'm good at putting it all together and coming up with conclusions and kind of sifting through everything and putting it together, splicing it all together. I'm good at analyzing, but as far as collecting it, hey, look, I mean, I'm not like great. So I just want to make that clear. I want to give respect to a lot of people who actually do hardcore research and actually do a lot of this stuff. I just kind of skim the internet and kind of give you a show and just use my own particular analysis and how I read stuff. But check that out. Also came up with this little interesting gem. Whoever put this together, it's from Deciphering My Experience. So check it out. But here's your report, and then he put a bunch of inserts. He answers it in his own words on some of it, right? So we're going to go through this later and see what kind of information we can pull out, and we'll actually verify it. We'll actually verify a lot of these claims. I thought it was interesting, though. Air Force Space Command right there. It's neat. He put out his own little report. Look at that. That's badass. That's those are patches from Space Command. Or Space Command. A lunar. A base on the moon does make sense when you think about space warfare. If all the assets were taken out in orbit, you'd want a counter response, which you could place them on like the moon, right? Because you understand, like, they can close the space domain off. Like if World War III kicked off, like the first thing they do is close space off with just using space debris. That's not hard to do. I mean, it only take about three good ASATs to cause enough debris to where space would be completely closed off. So how would you'd want some acid still out there, so if you could definitely do it now with robotics, with the rovers and stuff, Okay, so this is getting kind of theoretical in my opinion. Like when you start introducing like species and stuff, then you're like, okay, that's hypothetical as fuck, Like, how do you know that? It's one thing to like have like radar footage and to analyze like the military industrial complex. That's all hard facts. That's stuff we can actually scoop up with good open source research, right? That's something we can scoop up with good open source research. But when you start getting into stuff like, other species like the tall whites and the Pleiadians and the grays and stuff, it's like, hold up, dude. That now you're getting into the realm of like speculation. I mean, like, come on, how do you know that? Like, there's just because some witness claims that. I mean, that's not enough for me. I like documents. I like stuff that makes common sense, Anyway, I think that's gonna be it, guys. Come back in a couple more days and we'll go over some of the report. But just wanted to share that with you. Check it out. Check all these documents out. Check this one out. This is pretty cool. And other than that, y'all have a good day, and I'll talk to you later.